Yeah, welcome back. Um, yeah, I haven't been around for a while. I've been still doing a lot of other stuff. Um, I'm still working on editing my feature film, and I have over 90 minutes of it rough edited. And I still have about another 30 minutes to go. So it's going to be initially over 2 hours. And hopefully after that point, I can edit it and condense it down into kind of roughly about maybe a half hour or hour and a half, 90 minutes, or possibly 100 minutes. Full feature length, but moving, not quickly, but with alacrity from scene to scene, and hopefully people won't get bored. Anyway, hey, welcome back. I guess also welcome some of the new subscribers. It's weird to get subscribers when you don't put out any episodes. Some people have found me on, discussed what I do on Facebook, and I've been like, oh well, thanks for talking about my episodes in such nice terms. Anyway, what the hell have I been doing? I've still been working on also getting the shop foundation started, which is great, especially in California. Yeah. I was struggling whether to go permit or no permit, and I'm probably going to have to do permits, which sucks, but there it is. Anyway, you got to keep moving on regardless. Yeah, so I've been doing kind of foundational work for other things. This black part thing, this was part of the fuel tank of the Honda Fit. I cut that apart. I needed some way to put the fuel pump to mount the fuel pump into the Fiat fuel tank. And the Honda tank is plastic, the Fiat tank is steel, and it's also not quite as deep as the Honda tank. It's close, but it's not too far off. So what I had to do was I had to design a little CAD program file and hit up that company Send Cut Send and have them cut me a nice chunk of 1/2-inch aluminum so that it will offset the mounting of the fuel pump a little bit higher on top of the Honda tank, or the Fiat tank, and provide the clearance that I need, and also a fantastic foundation to bolt everything to, because I can drill and tap this aluminum, and it's going to be basically a great in-between material to join the two tanks together. So that's one of the things I was doing. Other things, yeah, I don't know if you can see. You probably can't see from that angle yet. We're gonna pan over a little bit. So, yeah, this was my little, grocery store homemade tank for my MIG welder. And honestly, I just was getting real tired of needing to fill up that tank. So I had this sucker laying around, and I got it refilled. And hopefully that new tank will last me a little bit longer. Yeah, no, on to further explain, I had to basically change the structure of that little shopping cart so that it could accept that massive tank of argon dioxide for MIG welding, so that I could actually move forward on doing a lot of this bodywork stuff. So, another thing that I've been playing with, which is kind of curious looking. Well, what the hell is this? This was a piece of yard art, and what it was like an old time school desk from like the 1960s or 70s. I don't know if you remember this. It had, a little seat post right here that little, the seat could rotate, and it actually had sort of a height adjustable desk, like a metal desk with a wooden top, and it was very old school. And yeah, I guess it was, some old antique. It was left on the property when we bought the house. They had kind of done a little, I don't know, shabby chic paint job on it. This, granite paint job. Remember that stuff back in the day? Granite paint. And I didn't know what the hell to do with it. I'm not a big yard art guy, unless it's actual art, but just kind of old garbage laying around. My wife probably thinks that I just love old garbage laying around just because I have lots of stuff, but I don't. I don't really like it. I don't think it's interesting or compelling. But anyway, I had an idea for doing something, and I was trying to figure out how I could make it. And then in my steel pile, yard art pile, no, I had this thing, and it was just slowly rotting away, and so I decided to kind of cut it apart and remake it into something different. And probably some of you will understand very easily what I'm up to. One of the things I do really appreciate about these is, my gosh, just how incredibly well engineered and designed and robust these school desks from the old days were. This was sitting outside for probably decades, and just adding a little bit of oil, everything on it works, and it's, it doesn't have any rust holes or anything like that, despite being out in the elements. And it's just very strong and well built. And we could make stuff like this now, but no. Shit is just made out of plastic and everything else, which has a finite life on it. Anyway, moving on. I had a project in mind, and I'll show you. Unfortunately it's not for the Fiat or for the Lancia. It's for the Jaguar, and I never liked the wheels on this Jaguar. I'm insanely grateful that I was given the vehicle, was bequeathed it, and it's a wonderful car. I love it, but I just hate modern wheels. It has these 19-inch wheels on it, and the spokes come out like flush with the outside of the wheel, almost to the wheel lip. And I don't like that style, and I don't like 19-inch wheels. They're too big. They're, getting tires for them is expensive, and they were chrome plated, which it also just annoys the crap out of me because the finish on them, it's like, in modern chrome plating, because of, the necessary uh, considerations about the environment, which I'm not knocking it, but because of those considerations, chrome plating is not very good anymore. So it's like, yeah, they just kind of like wave the wheels, in a chrome bath, whatever, and they get electroplated, but the finish is just so incredibly thin and not very durable, and especially on a wheel where it has to endure corrosive brake dust. The stuff just starts peeling, and if you wanted to like refinish it by sandblasting it, the hard chrome kind of resists sandblasting much more than the underlying aluminum, and it's just trying to get them refinished is a compromise. And so, in my mind, they were too large, chrome plated, and I don't like the style of them. So I decided I wanted to do something about that. This steel wheel is from a Ford Maverick truck, one of the new Maverick trucks that Ford came out with. The hub that I am mounting this is from like a Volvo, which it has the same bolt pattern. I did have to machine down the hub because when I got it off of like Craigslist cheap, and it was new out of the box, but it just wasn't the same size. But wackily enough, Jaguar and the Ford Maverick have the exact same wheel PCD, which means they have the same bolt pattern, the same bore, so that the wheel can ride concentrically on the hub itself, not necessarily relying on the bolt pattern and the lug nuts to keep the wheel concentric on the hub. So I'm going to widen some steel wheels. And you're like, well, okay, Chris, that's great. Why are you doing this? Well, because these are 17-inch wheels, and despite them being made of steel, you can cut and section and widen them. So essentially these are 7-inch wheels. The Jaguar OEM wheels are initially for the fronts 8.5 inches wide, and the rears are 9.5 inches wide. And so what I came up with was a jig to section out the wheels, and in doing that, a lot of guys get these wheels for they get these Ford Maverick trucks, and they just like immediately want to put rims on these trucks, and that's fine. These wheels are available very cheaply. And so I've got 8 wheels, so 2 full sets. And so out of those 2 full sets, I have plenty of material to section and make wider, deep dish wheels. And why did I kind of like this style? Partly because these are evocative. I mean, they're not, copies or anything like that, but the original wheels on like the Jaguar E-Type and D-Type race cars back in the day, and I understand that those wheels were alloy wheels, and those wheels are also very, very expensive. But yeah, so what I wanted to do was to kind of create the aesthetics of, that old style of Jaguar wheel, but also able to create my own design for exactly the kind of offset that I want for the vehicle, and just the look. And so, why am I doing this now? Well, the Jaguar that I got from Carolyn, bless her heart, she got it when they first came out. It's like a 2007 or 2008. And when I got it, it only had 5,000 miles on it. She barely drove it. However, because of that, she never needed to get new tires. So the tires on it are from 2007 or 2008 on the date codes. So these tires are extremely old, and even though they're like, nice Dunlop tires, they've gone hard. And so I don't take it out in like wet weather at all, and I don't drive it with any sense of enthusiasm, because I don't exactly trust these tires to save my butt in case I drive too enthusiastically with it. And I really need to get new tires. And so I was like, okay, I could spend a considerable amount of money getting 19-inch tires, that wide. I mean, 275, section rear tires are not cheap, especially for this kind of car. And, and they're all kind of high performance tires that you can choose from, but they're all pretty spendy. So going to 17-inch wheels and 17-inch tires makes so much more sense. The tires are cheaper, and as well, and I can't emphasize this enough with modern stuff. There is a massive compromise with modern tires and all these manufacturers joining this sort of it's a cosmetic thing, where yes, you have like these very low profile tires on these very large rims. You can get better ultimate traction, and they've designed the suspensions to be compliant enough to give you a reasonable ride with little rubber bands for wheels. The problem is, though, we don't drive around in Switzerland. We drive around in the real world, and thankfully California highways and roads are, for the most part, pretty darn well maintained and engineered. However, there's always going to be some sort of issue on the road at some point. And when you have a tire that has a reasonable sidewall, nothing that's not a balloon tire, and also nothing that's a rubber band, just something that is reasonable, the ride improves dramatically. And because I'm going to be also getting like performance tires for this, I'm not going to suffer a massive loss of traction and performance. But this car is not a stripped down sports car. It's more of a GT car, a GT kind of like touring car. And that's where I think it's going to be most happiest. It's going to have the performance that it requires, but it is also going to have the compliance, and it will prevent, if I hit a pothole, it's not going to damage the tire, and it's not going to damage the rim in that event. And also, these steel wheels, for the most part, they are quite tough. and these wheels were designed for a Maverick truck, and so their sidewalls are considerably higher, but it was also designed for a truck that weighs considerably more than this vehicle. So these wheels are going to be already overly strong, and widening them is not going to compromise the strength. And I do have feeler gauge that measures, a magnetic feeler gauge that measures in thousandths, so that when I start rebanding and redoing these wheels, I can maintain the concentricity of the wheel, the rim, with respect to the center of the wheel. So it's, go look on YouTube. There's, a lot of people are doing this. No, I don't know that a lot of people are doing it, but enough people are doing it that it's not witchcraft or magic. You just have to essentially make a very good jig with which to accurately make these cuts, and then you have to be able to nicely rotate the wheel as you run your MIG welds. That's what I'm doing. I'm not doing a TIG welding. I'm just MIG welding it, and that will, I think, give an excellent result. So anyway, I'll show you what the wheel should look like when it's all said and done. Anyway, one moment, please. All right, so here we are. This is kind of the look I'm going for. Kind of like the traditional Jaguar style of having like these little, I don't know, speed holes in between the main holes. And these are just 1/4 inch, but this jig is useful in laying out the holes for that, so that everything runs nice and precise along the wheel. So I just basically built this little armature that I just need to, after I get it set up on this little tube here that I built, I just need to dial in the length of this so that it's, I can raise it up and bring it down at the appropriate height, and it just makes everything easier. Anyway, so I'm going to do that, and then we will cut this wheel and see how that goes. Okay, so yeah, I've just got the just drilled the hole for the pin to hold the little arm in this guide. And this is just me making stuff out of garbage, essentially. But yeah, this is like, I think, 1.25" tube. Just had some of that around in the corner. Took some, I think, 1.5" PVC and sliced it and put on these hose clamps so that they act as basically guides for this little arm to pivot up and down. And I just didn't do anything amazingly special. I just used some more. These are actually Volvo kind of solid hose clamps because I don't throw anything away. And I just relieved the box section on the shoulders here so that they are captured, and you can adjust the tension of them so how firm you want them to be pivoting on this tube. And yeah, with this, I made this out of more garbage. Essentially, this is an angle grinder, Harbor Freight, whatever. But the thing that I want to use it for specifically is because it had bosses for the little stabilizing handle, and it had those in 3 places around the head. A lot of them nowadays only have one on either side, but this really does a better job of locking everything into place and stabilizing the grinder in this holder. So yeah, we can just slide this guy down there. Put that 1/4 inch bolt through the arm. And just probably finger tight. And what we're ready to do now is basically turn on the grinder and start feeding these together very, very slowly. So the back half of the wheel here, if you want to look at it, there's a smaller diameter inner section and then a larger diameter outer section. These are both the places where there is the most ability to harvest extra width. This back area is a little bit, it's almost 1.5 inches of extra length we can add on to another wheel. So you take the wheel that you want to add onto and you cut it back here as opposed to this side. So you're you're essentially adding back even more to the wheel. And you have to do this first, this part first, because it's not bolted to the hub. So because, for example, you know, this center part, which has the most of material that, you know, you could use to add to widen wheels, if I cut that off first, you know, here, no, sorry, back here, yeah, if I cut that off first, there'd be no way to mount this up so that I could remove this. Anyway, hopefully I can get almost all of the added material I need from this inner portion, and partly that is because this is the smallest diameter stuff. So there is physically less material here than this wider stuff. And so what that also means is less rotational mass. All right. I wasn't going to leave you hanging. Well, I was, but then I couldn't help myself and I kept going. So I took another wheel and I trimmed off the outer front lip of that. Oh, put that down. Oh. And then I cut the other part of that wheel that I was cutting, the front part with the inner band, out, and I cut the welds holding it, and I finally pressed it out, or with with a hammer and drift, slowly, carefully. Oh my God, that was a lot of work. That left us with a front half barrel with the little valve, air valve hole. So I'm just gonna throw it on there, stand on it. All right, and that gives us a new 9-inch wheel with sort of the wide, small diameter band done. And a nice bit of dishness. Probably want to see a stock wheel to compare it. And this is where we have ended. So yeah, it looks pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it. Hi, honey. And I'll let you guys go now. All right, bye.